Hi everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Our paint is all dry so we can start putting our John Deere L111 lawn tractor back together. I noticed we seem to have a pretty good oil leak going on in here, so before I start putting the lawnmower back together, I'm going to take it back outside and power wash this front of the engine here, and we'll see what we can find. I'm guessing it's probably the valve covers leaking, so we'll pull them off, and maybe I might have to make a new gasket for them and put them back on. That's better, all cleaned up in there. You got to be careful about letting oily crap build up in these fins, because that's what cools the engine. And if they're all full of crap, they can't transfer the heat to the air. So now I'm going to go ahead and pop this valve cover off and see what I can see in there. This gasket is looking a little worse for wear. It's squished right down in a few spots. So I'm just going to go ahead and I've got some gasket material here. I'll cut 2 new gaskets for it. Pretty straightforward. In here you can see this is an overhead valve engine. It's pretty much kind of like a car engine, you know, an old V8. Here's your where you adjust your valve clearances. I've been in here before a couple of times. The valve adjustment on these Briggs Intech engines is very temperamental. If you don't have it exactly right, they're hard to start. Everybody complains that their Briggs Intech is hard to start, and it all boils down to here. The camshaft, I can't remember if it's on the intake side or the exhaust side, but it's got a tiny little bump in it. And the purpose of that is when you first start cranking it, it acts as kind of like a decompression valve to let the engine get up to speed. Once it gets up to speed, the cam follower actually jumps right over that ramp, and you get your compression back, and it allows the engine to start. I'm going to use a hole punch to punch the bolt holes through the gasket. You can get a set of these anywhere. They're cheap. You just put it over there and whack it with a hammer. Now we can use a sharp knife to cut the interior out of it. There's one. Now we'll cut out the other one and I can put it back together. The gaskets mostly came off in one piece. I got the covers all cleaned up. You can see here I made our new gaskets out of much more substantial material, so hopefully they'll seal a little better. I'm going to go ahead and put them back on. Last thing I'm going to do is check the gap on the plugs. The plugs themselves look fine. I'm just going to double check that they're at 30 thousandths, which is what they're supposed to be at. Don't see too much trouble with these. The thing ran perfect, started up easy, so we'll just double check it and then put them back in. First step will be to lower our freshly painted floor pan back on. Ooh, it's going to look good. Now we can install the dash tower, and there's 6 bolts that go down through those holes into the chassis. Now I can drop the battery tray in there. Now we can put the dash back on. Now I'm going to sort out this dog's breakfast of wiring. It got all kind of twisted around and discombobulated when I took everything apart. I probably should have unplugged everything and rerouted it when I put it back together, but, well, I didn't, so now I pay the price. Now I'm going to work on the back here. I'm going to get the seat bracket, all these plastic bits and pieces, and all the lights and everything back on it. Everything on the back is all back together and working. Super duper. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the steering wheel on, and the steering shaft and the steering wheel, and get the hood on, and a few other things at the front half. Well, I just learned the hard way that the steering shaft goes in before that thing goes on. Anyway, not that bad. We survived. That's all good. Steering's all buttoned up. Now I can go ahead and put on the hood. Now I can put the step pads on. They just snap on. You literally just put them there and push them down. Well, she's looking like something now. I just got to wait for my seat. I ordered a new seat at the dealer. It'll be in a day or two. Some things I ordered for the John Deere have finally arrived, so we can go ahead and finish this job. I got some new decals for it, ones that I had to grind off when I was painting it. And I got a new seat for it. Because our old one, well, you remember what it looked like. It was a little ratty. Here's the first one. I've gone ahead and marked with tape where it needs to go. So we'll spray some water down on there and go for it. So to put decals like this on when they're big, you spray some water down on it. You can put a little drop of soap in it, dish soap if you want. And that gives you the ability to move the decal around a tiny bit before it takes a really good set. And when you've got it perfectly placed, then you squeegee the water out from underneath it. So now that it's on there, we use this. I call it a stripe squeegee. Look at the water come out. I don't know what its proper name is, but this is the right tool for this job. And you just squeegee the water out. And then this thing will become stuck. And it won't have any wrinkles in it or anything like that. There we go. Perfect. There's our new seat and our old seat side by each. What we got to do is we have to swap the mounting bracket from one to the other. So that's just 4 bolts. We can do that right now. They are a little bit different. This one's got a metal backing and this one's plastic. But I don't know, it's supposed to replace it exactly. So we're going to go ahead and swap this over. Just 4 bolts and over it goes. And the operator presence switch. We also have to move over the spring handle for the adjuster. Now these 2 screws that hold the adjuster lever on, they actually cut their own threads. You can feel if you roll them in your fingers, they're slightly triangular. These are thread cutting screws. So we're going to just put a little lubricant on them and zing them in. Now the seat switch, we just give it a squeeze, push it in, and it should slide back. I don't have enough hands, hang on. Then it just pops into our new seat. Now this one, I guess is not much good for anything else, but maybe I'll nicely trim the John Deere logo off the back of it before I scrap it. We'll see. These are the bolts from the original seat. They're too short to use on the new seat. So John Deere, they supplied me with these ones, but I noticed they're nice grade 8 bolts, so I'm going to save them for something else and use these grade 5 ones I had in stock from some other project. And I'm going to add a lock washer to the party. Got the seat bolted on, then the switch plugged back in. And she looks like new. All right. We got our new decals for the deck, so let's put them on. Well, I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. It looks awesome. It'll be a day or two before I get to take it outside and try it because suddenly it's the end of April, yet the polar vortex has made a triumphant return and brought a whole bunch of snow with it. So maybe on the weekend. It's supposed to start getting nicer out tomorrow. Anyway, while I was working on this, I was also, because I had the green paint on the go anyway, we spruced up our little dump cart. So that's pretty good. The John Deere is done, case closed, and we can move on to the next project. So that's a wrap on this job. Thanks for following along while we did it, and I hope you learned something about lawn tractors and working on them and fixing them up. Anyway, I'm going to take off now, so I'll catch up with you next time. And until then, Thanks for tuning in. And this is Kevin checking out from the Claremont Classic Garage. So long.